I've been living in this area for 7 years. Awesome. So I was actually raised conservative Christian, tended to be raised in the Baptist church, the Southern Baptist church. But then I also had a lot of experience through all of that time in charismatic churches. I got married at a very young age to a man, and we had a child together by that point, and I'm talking young. I had my first kid when I was 25, and then I just started questioning things because I started experiencing things within the church that felt not right. But then I also started figuring out, like, having some thoughts about who I was. It didn't fit into the Christian norm or the church norm or even being married at that point. And so I think at that point I just started doing a little bit more self-exploration and just looking inward. And I would have those conversations with my husband at the time, and that led to a lot of closing off for a lot of years. And I am a straight up lesbian. I have a partner who we have a life together. I actually proposed to her this year, and so we'll be getting married. And we together collectively have 4 children that we parent and take care of. I'm gonna back up for just a second and tell you that my dad, who I was very lucky and able to have a very good relationship with him for about 3 years before he just passed last year. And we're talking about my gay dad. He has a brother, and his brother is also gay, and that's my uncle. And recently, when he and I were talking about my dad, because after my dad passed, he just had his 1-year anniversary of passing. And we were talking about how funny it was that I had a very similar coming out story as my father. And the way that my uncle put it, because I didn't know this about my dad until after he passed, the way my uncle put it was, it wasn't just a coming out story, like you open the door and you come out of the closet. He's like, you fucking knocked the door down and you just burst on the scene and said, here I am. And I think that's entirely accurate, that not only did my dad do that, but I literally followed the same path when I did that. When I finally did break off from my marriage, which was for more reasons than just that, though now I'm finding like that was my main reason ultimately, but there was, like I said, a lot of abuse and that sort of thing. But when I finally did leave, I dropped heavy into it. I was actually married for a total of 14 years. About 7 years in, I said, hey, interested in women, not sure what we want to do about that. And he was like, stuff it. 7 years later, I got the courage to leave, and I did. And I walked away. It was a scary time because I had 2 children, and I didn't know if he would find a reason to take them away from me. I thought my queerness could be a possible like hurt to that. I was scary. Yeah, it was a lot of like scary moments, but I wasn't scared to like walk out and hold a woman's hand and show somebody that I love somebody. It just never was like scary to me. It was empowering. And I got my voice back. I went through a lot of therapy to get there. I started therapy about 6 months before I came out. And then, like, the day I moved out, I basically was like, here I am. So I think it was hard, it was scary, but I wasn't scared. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it's scary to be like, oh, here's the new me, and to do it alone. But I wasn't scared to love who I loved and to do it out loud. I think I just one day realized that if I didn't make a change in my life, that I was going to either end up dead, which is the reality of the situation that I was in, or I was going to be miserable. So it was either like, it was negative or negative. So if I didn't make a change, I wasn't going to be around. I did reach out to my dad, who was still alive at the time. And I just said to him, I'm feeling this way and I don't know what to do about it. And that was later on, not at that 7 years into my marriage mark. My brother is a big support in my life as well. And I reached out to him and I called him and I said, hey, I'm leaving my marriage and I just want to let you know I'm probably going to be dating women. I think I love women. I just don't know how to like anything other than that. And he was like, well, duh. And I was like, what do you mean, duh? And he goes, oh, I've known for like years that you were gay. You just didn't come out. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're supposed to tell me this kind of thing. So I would say through that process, he was probably a support even though I didn't know it. And I'm sure he has a huge piece to play in like my ability to leave. I know he had a huge part to play in my ability to leave my marriage. He was the first person that said, it's okay. It's okay if you have to leave. And it's like when you're in that situation, you don't understand why, but you feel like you need permission. And he gave me permission. And then, a couple years later is when I left. It took a while.